I don't know about you, but personally I don't mind free games. I really have nothing against them, and especially if they are print and play, so I can simply assemble them. They come out on my printer. To me it's like Aladdin's lamp almost, and especially if such games lean to print, because if I start spending a lot of time assembling the game and a lot, it consumes a lot of ink, then I may just as well buy a game. A game that I found in the dark corners of Board Game Geek, and that all of the above requirements. It is simple, it is light to print and assemble, and it is also for free, is Page Skirmish, which is a system of miniature rules for fantasy skirmish combat. So the game simply is, as the title may imply, one page of rules, and then you need to provide all of the other elements. But if you're interested in miniature games, then probably you have a collection of miniatures that you will repurpose. You can use in this game, you can use terrain, and also if you do not have a large collection of miniatures, there are other ways of doing it. For example, I use paper miniatures, and I find them absolutely very easy and simple to play. I do not need to build them. I don't need to paint them, most importantly. And I simply buy files of paper miniatures, and I can create very large and beautiful and thematic armies with all the variety without having to invest a lot of time and money. Page Skirmish. So as I said, you get one page of rules. This is the game. This is all that you need to know to play the game. Well, these are the rules. You also need the army lists. You even have a page of advanced rules. Woohoo! If you really want to go fancy. In truth, they do not really make the game much more complex. The advanced rules are mainly about terrain, and they give you different missions, that is, different victory conditions. And then you have a good number of army lists. So it's more than a page, but you have a lot of army lists that give you a lot of different factions that you can play with. Demons of Chaos, Wood Elves, Beastmen, then you have the Vampires, the Undead, Britannia, which has recently divorced from Europa. That's factions that they used to be friends, and then, blah, 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 blah. Tomb Kings, a lot of different interesting factions. The Dark Elves, you need those, Ogres, Lizardmen, Dwarves, Warriors of Chaos, High Elves, etc., etc., etc. And as you can imagine, like in so many games of this kind, you have the stats of the unit, well, the name of the unit, stats of the unit, and number of army points. The players decide on a number of points that they will have, and usually you will have the same number of points. Actually, if a player is more experienced than the other, you can assign the inexperienced player a higher number of points to build their army. Players build their armies, and then the fight starts. Now, how does the game work? Well, let's start from the units. There is a key concept here, which is the concept of quality, which simply is a number here. Quality is used in all quality tests that pretty much determine anything and everything that the unit attempts to do, that you're not certain the unit will be able to perform correctly. So mainly attacking in melee, attacking with ranged weapons, but also passing a morale test. The basic idea is that you roll a d6, and if you roll equal to or higher than the quantity of the units that you're activating, the test is successful and you manage to perform what it is that you were trying to perform. So players construct their forces, and it's a game at the skirmish level, so you will have a lower number of units. There's also something that I like, not just because I'm lazy, I do not want to build large armies when I play miniature games, but because I like the man-to-man feel, or man-to-beast, beast-to-monster, hydra to zombie feel that you have. They're just a more interesting narrative feel to me when it gets to small groups of individuals fighting it out for whatever reason, rather than larger, somewhat faceless formations of units. Of course, I play large war games where you have precisely those formations of units at the operational level, at the strategic level. But when it comes to tactical, I like to see the faces of individuals. I like to see the personalities and the individual abilities of the units. So here the game, in the standard basic game, lasts only 4 rounds, which is a very short, fast, brutal game. You can play longer games, so you can adjust the victory conditions and the length anytime you want. This is something good with a system that is that small. You can definitely customize it and adapt it in a variety of ways. Players during each turn will alternate activating units, and a unit that is activated can simply stay where it is without moving, or to say miniatures in a unit that is activated can stay where they are without moving, but they can still shoot. They can advance up to 6 inches. They may march up to 12 inches, but in that case they cannot shoot, or they can charge up to 12 inches, and in this case they are attempting to get in contact with the enemies and to trigger melee. Shooting, guess what that is based on? Is based on quality. So units the models that are attacking the opponents roll dice, and they will generate a certain number of hits based on their qualities. The number of hits is applied on enemy models. An enemy model that has incoming hits will roll, guess what? On the quality, or against the quality number that the unit has, this time to try to avoid getting hit, and each successful quality roll for the unit that is receiving a hit cancels a hit. Hits that were not cancelled by the quality test of the defender, well, they result in wounds, and then you roll on this mini table here, the wounds table, which has 3 possible outcomes. 1 to 2, the model is killed. 3 to 4, the enemy is pushed. That is, you move it up to 2 inches away, and then the model is stunned. You can put it on the side or add a marker by the unit, add a counter, whatever you want to do that to record the stun status. 5 to 6, the model is only stunned. Simply, a stun model will use its next activation to remove the stun status, to put himself, herself, itself together, depending on the nature of the unit. Also, units that are stunned, if they receive further hits, they are removed from the game automatically. This is pretty much the basic idea. You have some terrain rolls, you have weapons that really only determine the range and the number of attacks that they generate. You have the morale at the beginning of a round. If an army is down to half of its original size, then you need to choose a unit in that army. Usually you will choose a leader that has a good quality rating, and you need to test the quality of that unit, so the unit is able to rally everybody, but mainly actually not to rally, but to prevent them from routing. That's the basic idea. Units move and attacking melee. Of course, if you're attacking melee, both sides get to roll for hits. Units move, fire, attacking melee. Roll against your own quality to hit the opponent. The opponent rolls against their own quality to prevent the hits. Hits that are not blocked are rolled on the wound table. That is it. It's a very simple system, and yet it has a nice cycle of actions and reactions, as units are all brave and full of energy at the beginning. Then some members of the units are getting stunned, some are killed, swings of fortune go in different directions, and you have all the fun, you have all the basic ideas that you need in a skirmish game. And you may say you do not have much else. Yes, you do not have as much further detail past that as you would have in expensive games that come with lengthy hardcover manuals of rules. So I simply cannot bring myself to learn those games. Again, if I were a hobbyist player that spent a lot of time building armies and painting, and then actually spending that extra couple of dozens of hours to learn those games, at those point, maybe I spent 5 hours on a single model. What is it to spend 20 more hours to learn the game? But I like to play my games fast. I like to to focus on gameplay when I play. I like the beauty of a miniature game. I like the game possibilities that I have when I play in continuous space where I can measure and all sorts of maneuvers are possible. I just do not want to spend too much time on the meta game. And a game such as this one gives me all that I need from a skirmish game without too much other things that I find distracting that in commercial games are very important because they generate a lot of money for the companies, selling you the models, selling you the paints, selling you the terrain, etc., etc., and also updating the manuals constantly, so you need to buy those constantly. I'm interested in seeing a nice, interesting, dynamic, organic fight on the table, and this game allows me to do so. Now, after I said that this game is based on the score idea that I explained and not much else, there still is something else. There still is a bit more, not as much as I think it's in the big, scary miniature games, but you still have special rules for unique abilities, or I should say for unusual special abilities that not all units have. Some units may be fast, fearless, flying, you have a scout ability, tough ability that allows them to absorb hits, wizards, they may be able to cast spells. So you do have these fairly, not universal, but fairly common traits. And then when you look at the specific army lists, you have even more customization. You have even more individual detail for each type of army, and then for each type of unit within each army. The orcs may have the giant attacks, may fall over the enemies, the high elf do blizzard auras and blessing abilities. Where are the dark elves? The dark elves I liked very much. The Dark Elves also had the blessing. They do the dance of the death. I don't actually perform it on the table, but I was tempted to because that sounds pretty fun. They have another ability called Feast of Bones. Different list of spells. The vampires. Strange name for the army, the Vampire Counts, but it's pretty much your undead army because it has ghouls, it has zombies, it has the wraiths. The wraiths had the Chill Grasp, which is very thematic. They also are ethereal. You have other specific things for all of these armies, for all of these abilities. These armies really play in different ways and really have different thematic flavor. Which makes sense, of course, so you have that extra level of detail and theme, but also it is welcome because I like that level of detail when it gets added to a core rules that is very simple, such as this one is. And even with those extra details, things don't get so crazy like in games such as Malifaux. Malifaux is a miniature game that I played in the past. I reviewed it positively because I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. After a while, however, I got tired of it because the synergies started feeling a little too scripted, a little too convoluted. It almost started feeling like a puzzle that you need to study to come up with the perfect algorithm and maximize the abilities of your teams. And also, if you're playing against a player that doesn't know that secret knowledge behind that is like behind the curtains, then the player has absolutely no chance whatsoever. So again, that felt like a game that Malifaux is not too complicated to play, but then it has all that meta level that just gave me a headache and did not result in a sufficient amount of joy of gameplay for me to want to commit to that sort of effort. Page Skirmish gives me a super lean, super basic system of rules, and then adding those extra details, those extra flavorful elements of Chrome does not make the game feel cumbersome, does not burden me. It does give me the level of detail, the level of story that I want. It makes the armies function in different ways, replay value, tactical nuances, without making the game feel like a metagame, without turning the game into a puzzle contest, into a Rubik's Cube contest to see who has been able to game the system better rather than who is the better tactician when the battle starts. So I'm incredibly, I'm enormously impressed by One Page Skirmish. I'm really glad, I'm grateful when you have generous designers that put in the effort in coming up with a system such as this one, which is so simple, but it clearly has been tested because it works well. But then I can imagine all the work that went into creating all the army lists and coming up with just enough detail, just enough unique traits to make the game interesting and thematic without turning the game into a chaotic mess of rules, sub-rules, and possible loops that players will exploit. One Page Skirmish got my highest endorsement. I really enjoyed this game. I'm grateful that the game is out. I hope that this video will help bring in this little known game to your attention. Maybe you know it already, but when it comes to free print and play games, they do not get the same type of exposure, visibility that commercial games have, and I hope that my videos can help correct that. Also, the same team that created One Page Skirmish also has other games that are available for print and play. Another game that, the game is for free, but I decided to go crazy and to invest like $3 in getting a plastic spiral here to bind the One Page Skirmish, but I also wanted to bind another game together, One Page Kill Team. Hey, I went crazy, but not that much that I would buy 2 spirals for 2 sets of rules that are like 20 pages each. So yes, there's also another game, One Page Kill Team, which has the same structure, 1 page of basic rules, 1 page of advanced ones, and then army lists. I haven't played it yet. From what I see, it seems like a sci-fi, horror-ish, sci-fi-ish Warhammer type of thing. So that's different variant. I personally am a huge sucker for fantasy. Anything that has fantasy in it to me is intrinsically interesting. One Page Skirmish gives me access to a world of tactical combats among very interesting forces that are easy to assemble, easy to handle, easy to control, and yet when the action starts, the action of the game is one that is solid and one that is dynamic, organic, and very engaging, and results in fun tactical battles with a strong narrative feel. One Page Skirmish, my highest endorsement. If you're into miniature games at all, you owe it to yourself to check this game out. If you never play miniature games, this is the time to start. Print this out and then use your children's Lego toys. Use paper miniatures. Contact me on Board Game Geek, or we can talk in the comments of this video, and I can give you some suggestions on how to put together very cheap, very easy to assemble paper armies or paper bands, because that's all you need to page One Page Skirmish. This is a game that I liked enormously, and it's perfect for the seasoned miniature wargamer, or also for a player that never tried this style of game and wants to give it a try without having to spend hundreds of dollars and hundreds of hours to put together a professional looking army that ultimately, it may sound erratic, but is the truth, plays just as well as a paper miniature army. One Page Skirmish, great game, great system, give it a try.